Good morning. Call to order this special meeting, July 10th. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the United States of New Mexico, the symbol of perfect friendship among many cultures. Discussion of the agenda or approval.
Mr. Chair, since public input isn't on the agenda, it would appear that it's possible that there may be some audience members that are here for public input. Should we discuss that?
I'd be open to that.
Is there anybody in the audience that had planned to do public input for this?
We were going to call on the airport manager, of course, but other than that, okay, that settles it. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. New business discussion and approve, disapprove a letter to the U.S. Department of Transportation regarding comments for essential air service, proposals from Advanced Air and LLC and Boutique Air Incorporated. Would you like to, thank you, Rebecca, come up and explain? We have a couple of documents that Rebecca's given us, and I think one's from Boutique Air, and I'm not sure. Would you explain that to us and tell us anything you want us to know?
Sure. I had put together some information for the Commission and sent it out approximately a week ago. That was a comparison looking at what they had proposed on costs and schedules, and so I'm not sure if the Commission has any questions in regards to that. Okay. And then
I have a question about the pricing. I appreciate you asking Boutique about the $60 figure. I want to know if this is apples to apples when we see the average fare that's listed by Advanced Air. Are they also doing net rather than what the consumer is going to see?
and I believe they are. I did not get a response back on that question.
So you think it's apples to apples?
I do believe so, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that representative can be having the wheels turning. We're going to get to talk to them, aren't we?
If you want.
I assumed we'd get to talk. I have questions for you. Okay.
All right, and then this morning I sent out some information just in response to some of the things that DOT will be looking at when they evaluate the proposals as well. They have 5 criteria, and so part of that is on marketing and interline agreements, and so I'd asked some questions of both airlines, and you see their responses.
Okay, any questions for Rebecca?
I have another question for Rebecca. In your analysis, which I greatly appreciate, thank you so much for doing that, you mentioned the 9 passenger planes requiring additional staff training. Does it in fact require additional staffing?
Well, that at this point, it will depend upon our scheduling. Once we get folks trained up, I'm constantly changing our schedule just based upon, fire season and what we need to cover for flights. And so it would just really probably end up being more of an adjustment once we get the training.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Then
Rebecca.
okay, thank you. I guess I missed this somewhere, so sorry. I'm just now trying to sit here and read it. Do you want to hear from Mark then?
I have questions for Boutique actually, as well as for Mark.
Are they represented?
And I don't know if that's going to be possible. Okay, there we go.
Okay. Mark, could you come up? Now, you represent Advanced Air, correct?
Correct. Mark Fleischer with Advanced Air.
Questions?
Okay. I think I may have asked this at the meeting we were at together at the City Hall Annex, but since I didn't see it in the proposal, I'm going to ask again. The book pricing that Boutique Air offers is quite attractive to my school,
Yes.
and I assume to other businesses and organizations in this area. Do you plan to offer similar book deals where we buy a packet, of 10
We're not going to
tickets?
do it by book. We're going to do it where you'll have a number, and when you sign in, you put a number in. We'll give that number to governments, city employees, city residents, chamber members, that type of thing, so they can still get that discounted price without having to buy 10 tickets at once. It'll just be a code they'll use for a lower fare.
And then, so now we're at the question that I asked Rebecca. Will that price be the average price that was quoted in your proposal, or is that a net price, and so our price will be higher?
No, that's our price to consumers that we have in our proposal. It's not a net price.
And so as I recall, that was $79 to Albuquerque.
Correct.
And with the number that replaces the book discount, what do you anticipate that price being?
They're debating if it's going to be 69 or 74. They think it'll be 69, but I don't know if they want to put that in the proposal or commit to it until they get the actual numbers and see what it's doing. I think it'll be 69 or 74, and then the price will be 79 with one step up, not the latter step up.
Right. Okay, thank you very much.
Sure. Any other questions? Thank you.
Other questions? Okay. So there's also on your desk a letter from Representative Martinez to the Department of Transportation, and then there's one that just says July 10th, 2018 at the top that I wrote. I'm not sure that I think the question before us is, do we want to write a joint letter? And if so, what do we want it to say?
I think we should write a joint letter.
Okay.
Taking a straw poll. I think we're stronger when we do something together.
Okay.
This says approve or disapprove a letter, too.
So then the first question at hand is, if we're going to do one together, are we in favor of advanced or boutique? Right?
I think the chair has the order correct. Let's agree that we're going to do one together, and then we'll find out. Does that make sense?
Do you have a preference, Mr. Ramos?
I think we ought to do one together.
Okay.
Me too.
Okay. Okay then. So I'll just go ahead and weigh in first. I already wrote an individual letter not knowing what the commission would do in favor of advanced air. My biggest concern is what's going to happen should advanced air get the award. What is going to happen to boutiques service at that point, because they've already, in my opinion, earlier this year, they already failed, and would they continue to fail? I guess I hope there's a way for us to hold them accountable till the end of their contract, because that is a concern. But I'm in favor of what advanced air offered, but we can weigh in with all of us who wants to.
So if it pleases the commission, I'd like to move that we approve a letter to the U.S. Department of Transportation requesting or giving our support to Advanced Air to provide our essential air service to Silver City, Grant County. Second.
All in favor?
I assume we're going to make that motion so we could have discussion.
Yeah.
I'm not actually leaning in favor of that. I want to address your concern, which frankly hadn't occurred to me. What is the transition period?
6 months. Nearly 6 months.
After our letter or after the DOT recommendation or the DOT decision?
When will the DOT decision come out, Rebecca?
We should see that probably in the next month,
Okay.
and we will transition basically to January 1st.
Yeah, and then it's right at
So about 6 months they would have.
Correct.
And Rebecca, can you tell me what mechanisms in place other than the contract, and what are the details in the contract that would hold them accountable? To what degree are they held accountable for the next 6 months?
It's really about what they get paid for. And so at this point, flights that they don't complete, they don't get paid for. We really don't have another mechanism in place, so it would generally just be them hopefully wanting to maintain their reputation.
Right. I would think there'd be some reputational concerns.
I hope they do. I just know they're spread so thin. I can picture, a scenario where they're taking service from here and giving it to somewhere else so they don't lose service.
No, they're contractually required to maintain the schedule that we have with them. It's just when they have cancellations at this point, they've crossed over the number that they were allowed contractually, and so they are no longer going to be getting paid for flights that they don't complete. We're part of a system with them, so, they're coming from Phoenix, they come to us, to Albuquerque, and down to Carlsbad. It's not something where they're just going to be able to pick a flight and not do it.
Okay.
So we're part of their system.
Yeah, the danger in what I was talking about is that you have a certain number of flights you need to complete by the end of the year to receive federal funding. Would you explain that to me again?
When they bid their contract, they say that they will have this many flights, and, throughout our year, they have to, meet that. They have the opportunity to cancel up to, it was 50 flights. And so at this point, we've had 50 cancellations.
Okay, so what I'm talking about is
The 10,000, right?
the 10,000 flights we need to receive.
Oh, the enplanements. The enplanements.
Enplanements, yeah.
Yes, and we're actually on track to actually exceed what we had last year.
Okay,
But the concern, again, which is interesting,
Right.
I haven't thought about it, is if they don't meet their contractual obligations, we have a grievance against them, they pay a reputational cost, but we also may pay a federal subsidy cost. Is that the concern you're expressing? Like,
Yeah.
let's say we get to
Well,
9,000
exactly.
and not 10,000, that costs the county, right?
Well, that would take us out of where we're going to have an increase in our federal funding from 150 up to $1 million. We need to stay over our 10,000 enplanements. That's correct.
and that's the concern, is how do we hold them to that?
Yeah. And I personally don't think that it's going to be a problem for us.
Okay, good.
Well, that's, depending on where we're at right now with enplanements, that could be very costly for them. If they're already in the penalty, right?
Correct. And certainly they want to get paid for the flights that they're doing. So, it behooves them also to maintain their schedule.
Okay. Any further questions, discussion?
I just have one clarifying question. So where are we at right now on enplanements?
As of last month, we were about 5,500.
So it's close, really, in a way.
We're doing well this year, yeah.
However, they get no more freebies.
Yeah, okay.
Presuming that helps.
Correct. That's probably, that's a good one. That's a bigger stick.
I don't know, carrot season affects enplanements. It seems like we might be entering a time when some people are afraid to fly.
Further questions?
Actually, I don't have no question. I just want to make a comment. Last month, I had the opportunity to fly Boutique into Albuquerque, and when I got on the internet, I saw a price of $69, and I couldn't get it completed for some reason. So I called it in directly to Boutique, and I got confirmation it was going to be $69. When I got my credit card, it was $110 plus tax. It came out to I got it right here, $123. And that was just one way. So that really upset me. And if that's happening to me, I'm sure it's happening to everyone else.
That's a good story. I haven't heard one exactly like that. My family's last trip from Phoenix to Silver City was very interesting because there was two different excuses given, and there was frustration by Boutique also, expressed. There was a lady that was on her second day of trying. This was my daughter's experience trying to get to Silver City, and there was a lady who was on her second day trying, and there was. Boutique wasn't offering her, she was asking for some sort of compensation because she had to spend the night in Phoenix, and there was no compensation coming. So I know that they had told us before that they really worked with people and did give compensation in various degrees, but that wasn't the case last time. Other discussion?
It's motion on the floor.
So there's a motion that we send a joint letter and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we'll have to craft a letter, and how do you want to go about that?
I think you can start with this one, and you guys can figure it out.
Thanks for creating the draft, Mr. Bennett.
Sure, yeah, do you want to, I guess everybody can read it and see what changes they want to make.
Is there any point in weighing in on the scheduling options?
I don't know that matters to the
To
department.
the DOT?
Yeah.
That's something we would take up with the next contract? Okay, because I do have a preference there.
Remember, we're just making a recommendation.
Yeah, sure.
They're actually going to make the decision.
Sure.
Yeah, yes.
But then Advanced Air gets to decide on the schedule, right? Among the three options that it offered.
Mark wants to talk.
Yeah, Mark, go ahead.
I've been told that you also can weigh in on the schedule, that we have the three options in our proposal, and you can weigh in saying you support one or the other. And the DOT will take that into consideration.
Okay.
So if there's a certain of the options we gave you like better, you can support
that
that
in
option.
We'll have to get those before all this.
We can handle that by email, right?
I don't know. We can handle that by email. It sounds like
So
We can handle it next Tuesday or Thursday, though.
that's what I would like to do. No, what time?
Well,
The 17th?
no, you have to do the 17th. So it's okay, just take out your letter and just make another motion.
We don't know what it
You
is.
can amend it.
Yeah, we don't know what it is yet.
Oh, okay.
And we could come back out of executive session if we can get that information and make that decision.
I have a copy of all the schedules.
I do know it. If we could get those, because we're going to go into executive session for all these,
On your own.
we can review those and then come back.
I would support that. Give me 10 more minutes to make sure I've got the right option, because I remember preferring one, but I'm not positive.
Yeah.
I think it was 2.
So who's the best person to get that information from? You?
If you have it, you can
Okay.
hand it to Bernadette and get
I have it twice.
Okay, very good.
Alicia was good enough to forward it, and then I found Bernadette's original.
So Abby, is that okay if we come out of executive session?
Just to make it clear, you're not suggesting that you're discussing this issue in executive session.
no.
You just come back later after you've reviewed the material on your own.
And then we'll discuss what we're doing.
It's giving us more time to review the option, the scheduling
Yeah,
option.
there's no reason to discuss that in executive session.
Right.
Right, and I think it'd be privileged. That sounds fine to me, it's on the agenda. I don't see why you couldn't come back and discuss it more.
Okay.
Discuss the items in there later.
If we can get copies to all of us, then we can each individually review it.
Who doesn't, should I send it now?
I don't have it, but I don't have any way to get email either, so
Oh,
I just want a hand copy.
Yeah.
I just have
I can't.
I don't think Bernadette
Bernadette.
could somehow get a hold of this.
It's right here.
Nice, there you go.
Okay, so we're ready to move on into an executive session then? Is that right?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I move to go into executive session in accordance with NMSA 1978-10-15-1H.
Second.
And this is both for disposal of property and for threatened and pending litigation. We have 2 items.
That's correct. It's for discussion of disposal of property, including Gila Regional Medical Center, and threatened or pending litigation regarding pills.
So we have a motion, do we have a second?
Yes.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Brown, are you aware that you will be entering executive session?
Yes, I am.
Commissioner Ronald, are you aware that you will be entering executive
Yes,
session?
ma'am.
Commissioner Edwards, are you aware that you will be entering executive session? Chairman Billings, are you aware that you will be entering executive session?
Yes.
Commissioner Classen, are you aware that you will be entering executive session?
I am. Now is it?
We're now in executive session. So it's been moved and seconded that we exit executive session. During executive session, nothing was discussed, but, okay, those items that we
Come to clerk.
went into executive session to discuss, and the clerk's on her way.
She needs to record what you
Okay. Our good questions. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that we come out of executive session. And who did that?
I made the motion, secondary second is.
Mr. Ramos motion, Mr. Brown second. And I announced that no decisions were made in executive session and we only discussed those matters.
We made a decision about the
No, we have to make that decision out here.
You discussed it in there.
There was a discussion, but no decision has yet been made. All in favor? Aye. We are out of executive session, back into regular session. We need to talk about the pending litigation regarding the PILT. Is there a motion to that effect?
I'd like to move that we join the class action lawsuit against the federal government for recovering PILT underpayments from fiscal years 15, 16, and 17.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. The letter to Advanced Air Services.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So I made a motion earlier to have a letter written. I think we probably should just have staff write that letter. They have yours, and they know our wishes. Included in that would be option 1, number 2. It came to my attention that some of those points on what we were looking at were actually probably going to have to leave at 6:30 or so in the evening because they were not going to arrive before that anyway. So if we could just make sure that nothing leaves Albuquerque earlier than 6:30 on option 1, number 2 at the last 5 of the day, when we put that in, I wish that to be added.
Are you guys okay with it? Is that a motion?
I can move that to amend the original motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Is that all we have?
I think that's all we have. So motion to,
Make a
Motion to adjourn.
we can adjourn because we have a separate meeting scheduled over there.
Move to adjourn.
If you're not planning to come back, go ahead.
We are not going
Okay.
to come back.
And any discussion about the adjournment, all in favor? Aye.